Hello everyone, welcome to our St. Martin's School vlogcast. Today we're going to just be discussing a couple of things about what makes St. Martin's School the really special, great school that it is. I'm Warren Fenter, I'm the headmaster of the high school, and joining us today is Ruth Engler, who is our head of English, Tanya Easton, who is the head of the prep school, Raquel Williams, who is a grade 1 teacher, and Reverend Thabo Rafuku, who is our chaplain.
I think that we don't see children as numbers in a classroom. We definitely see them as individuals. And we see them grow from when they're really tiny to where they are adults poised for life after matric. And I think knowing that you've seen a kid in the pre-prep concert, in the prep school concert, in the Form 1 concert, and in the major production, and then maybe doing their drama break at the end, you get a picture of childhood, which is very precious.
I think it goes beyond just every child is known. It's every family member here is known. You know, it's not just about a child in and of themselves. I think we really focus on the community aspects of education, where it's a partnership between school, teacher, parent, and child. So it's the blend between all three, where we're not just getting to know a child, we're getting to know their family, their needs, and then being able to adjust our attention and our focus to the needs of that child in their various stages of life.
And I think also if we think of the children, all the children know each other. Mm-hmm. The grade 7s know the grade triple noughts, the matrics know the grade 7s. So I think it's not just only as us as teachers knowing the kids and the parents. I think it's the children knowing each other as well.
And last year, which was the first year the high school was on the prep school campus, one of my favourite things was that the matrics, who were busy leaving school, were often nowhere to be found down here. They'd be up at the pre-prep playing with the children, because I think for them it was a reminder of where they'd come from.
And I think it also, that combined campus feel is so unique because it gives the younger children the opportunity to look up to our older students. You know, like when our 2 matric students this year received the white blazer for the first time, and you could literally see the small kids' faces as they saw this white blazer walking across the corridor for the first time. What's that? And I can't wait to get that.
Yeah, that's something to look forward to.
Yeah.
What do our teachers do differently that helps a child blossom?
I think we give them that extra support. We spend that extra time with them, and we've got the opportunity to do that because we have the small class sizes. So they do get that individualized attention. Where if we were at a school with bigger numbers, higher numbers, might just fall under the radar. And so we get that time to spend with them.
I also think it has to do with the fact that our teachers are experienced, they are passionate about what they're doing. You know, they want to be here and they want to see the best out of each of our kids. And, you know, they're specialists in the subjects or the areas, the phases that they are working in, and are constantly developing themselves to be better and do better so that children can be better and do better.
And I think also because of our experience, we are able to come alongside a kid who might be struggling in some area, whether that's emotionally or academically or fitting in or perhaps struggling to be on stage or whatever. A kid like that draws our hearts because we are nurturers. We're ridiculously nurturing, and it doesn't suit us if a kid is out of whack. So very often you'll find one of the teachers is going to come alongside that one particular child. So there's always somebody on the staff who can relate and who can heal.
In a society where Christian values are disappearing, how do we nurture the spiritual ethos?
You're up.
A big part of being a chaplain at St. Martin's is taking social awareness classes. That's where we get more time out of chapel to spend time with kids, to nurture those ethos like respect, humility, and to generally make them aware to be good stewards of their God-given talents and all of that, so that they can become all-round good citizens of the country, and not only our country, but worldwide citizens.
And I think, Rev, where you get it right is you're not Rev on a pedestal away from the students. You know, you're on the side of the soccer field, you're teaching the kids, you have a relationship with them. And I think that lack of distance between you and the students also helps nurture that spiritual side, that you're human. You're not this, deity that isn't involved in things. And I think that also helps nurture that in our students.
I also think they feel that safety and that comfort, and that they can approach Rev and chat about anything. So that's what's also nice about it, that Rev, like you say, is on the ground with the kids interacting.
Yeah, it's authentic.
And in most cases, if they are a little bit apprehensive to go to a teacher, say, for example, with a family issue or something, they have gone to Rev because they see him as a family person, as somebody who can help without having to fear that we might contact their parents. Because, if they tell us something that we think, oh, this is a little bit serious, Rev approaches it in a different way, which I think is really good for them.
And I find it working very well, especially in pre-prep, where the younger ones will come knocking at my door because they've got emotions and they're emotional about one thing or the other. And in turn, I will just go to the teacher and say, man, this boy has got an issue. He's not having a good day. His father is whatever. And the teacher will now be able to say, oh, okay, no wonder he's like this today. And they will be able to take that and, yeah.
So that's something that helps all of us, is that we chat to each other. I mean, the kids always want to know, do you gossip about us in the staff room? But actually, we don't. We talk. And somebody can say, so-and-so kid was having a rough time this morning, he was crying, and then later on in the day, there will be somebody who will check up on them. And quite often, it's kids who notice that other kids are having a rough time. So I've quite often seen, especially sometimes the naughty boys who support each other. So I thought it was quite interesting that during Ramadan this year, we've got a Muslim boy in Form 4, Hadi, and his friends were taking turns to fast with him. Oh, wow. They're not Muslim, but they thought that would be supportive of their friend. So I think kids notice each other, but then would they be noticing each other if they didn't notice us noticing each other?
That's true.
So I think it nurtures that spirit.
And like in any community, we get kids who get sick and who some get very sick. And it's our duty as a school and myself as a chaplain to go and pray with them, give pastoral support to the family, and journey with them until they get better. And it's what I like about the school is that it's not a role of a chaplain, but teachers will go an extra mile to make sure that the kids is taken care of. His or her educational needs are taken care of while still at home recuperating or anything like that. And also that the parents also feel better that their kids are not losing out on education and the spiritual pastoral support happening.
And that extends to the family.
That extends to the family as well. If parents are also listen, the chaplain's role is not only limited to the children, but it's staff members, parents, because we are a community and we care about each other in that way. And when parents are going through stuff, we are there to help them through all of it.
We're very privileged here that we've always had a long-standing relationship with the Salvation Army. Started many years ago, and we still do it today. They often will phone us and say they need stuff for their soup kitchen, and the high school were really lucky last year to go and actually cook in the soup kitchen. With our mini counsellors, they're very involved in charity organisations. So we collect Easter eggs for the underprivileged children. We're busy collecting blankets now. We also support the St. Mary's Children's Home, where we have done blessing blankets last year. This year we're also looking to collect toiletries for them. So I think not only are we confined to our St. Martin's family community, we look to the community around us and to help those less fortunate. And what's also nice is when we get the Salvation Army in, or when we go and visit them, the kids can see where their stuff is going to. So it's not, it's just being collected and going in the bucky. Every grade is exposed to where it's going to, so that's also quite nice.
And what do you do that's lovely at Christmas?
We do the gift assembly, which we combine with our carol service, which is so lovely last year, which was the first different take on what we normally, but yeah, so we collect gifts for those children. So yeah, we definitely help the wider community in whatever way we can.
And I think in doing that, what we're doing is we're teaching our students empathy. You know, it's so easy to become so selfish about me, and I want to be successful because I want to make money. And, you know, if we're wanting to do our country justice in terms of making it better, we need children who are looking outside of themselves. And this is what is teaching them that. When we realize, when you've got children from the St. Mary's Children's Home here, and you've got some students realizing, hold on, I hold so much privilege just by the fact that I've got parents, you know, and imagine if I didn't. And getting these students to live, even if it's just for a couple of minutes outside in someone else's shoes, I think has so much power.
In fact, that happened on Saturday, didn't it? Because there were kids on a team for St. Mary's here, and one of our blessed thugs realized, maybe for the first time, that there were kids who didn't have parents and who weren't spoiled. And it had a profound effect on him. I say thug with love. Great love.
Yes, and I think obviously we've spoken about the fact that it's developing the holistic child, and I think that spiritual awareness and social awareness of their place in society is so important. And I think obviously here at St. Martin's, it's quite unique in that our staff and students obviously walk this whole education journey together. Would you say, I think you've alluded to it, Ruth, that our teachers have a unique relationship with our students?
I think that we really don't work as two separate entities. I think we work together and learn from each other. So I've always loved that about the kids, that they talk with respect, but in quite a casual, intimate way with us, and have conversations with us. It's not a case of looking up to us so much as looking at a friend on the road, an older friend, but on the road. So I think that's very special, and I don't think you get it everywhere.
And
Something I've noticed since the beginning.
Teachers treat learners as human beings, as people, not as kids. And there's that lovely, beautiful relationship between teachers and students, where they don't feel undermined or looked down on. They feel like they can contribute and stand up for themselves when it matters.
And
even, yeah, sorry.
We do treat them as our own kids, like our own kids. And we always say, that's my child. And then it's not just any child in my class, or it's just a number in my class. It's my child. It's really, you do take everything home with you. Whatever they've experienced in the day or whatever they're going through at home, it does go home with you, and you do think about it through the night, and you chat with your family. So everyone becomes part of your family as well. So
even when, which was what I was going to interrupt you with, and I didn't. And I think Warren knows this as well. we are human and we make mistakes as teachers. And I've always found the school is very ready for kids to criticize, not in an ugly way, but to criticize, have an adult conversation, and apologies on both sides. So quite often if I've been in a rehearsal and I've screamed kids down, it happens. There's always a moment at the end where we hug, it was a rehearsal, tempers were flaring, we're friends. Let's go on to the next rehearsal.
Yeah, it's certainly not a level of familiarity or you know, an informal or disrespectful sort of style. But, you know, at the end of the day, people are going to be in conflict with each other. And I think it's about learning that we're human and that when we're in conflict with each other, there's a way to do with it. So you're going to not raise your voice, you're going to speak your voice, right? You're going to have your say about what has happened, but if it's coming from the correct level of respect and dignity for each other, then it's okay. And what better place than to learn that actually at school, where the consequences more often than not are not as dire as in the world out there.
And I think we do that here from little. I mean, even in grade 1, in Jenny's class, I've experienced it where the little ones have not questioned Jenny, but like, okay, Mrs. Trollope, I'm not quite sure what you meant by that, but wasn't in a disrespectful way. And even with our grade 7s now, I mean, they're finding their feet in the world and their hormones are raging, but they feel comfortable enough to do it here. But like we've all said, with that respect is there.
So our little kids went off to St Dunstan's yesterday to play soccer, and what else were they playing? Netball. And there was some chaffing on the bus on the way home about so-and-so did something wrong and so-and-so, and we lost the match because so-and-so. So one of our teaching assistants said, okay, we're all going to admit what we did wrong in that match, and then we're going to have a hug. Sure. So that's like a baseline learning opportunity of note that will probably stay with that child for the rest of their lives. That we all make mistakes, and it's okay, and there's a hug at the end of it from someone.
So while we're speaking about the younger children, Raquel, so in our pre-prep phase, which is now going to be beginning at grade quadruple noughts, how do we prepare children for the start of formal schooling in grade 1?
Look, in pre-primary, it is still play-based learning, but we are laying the foundations for the formal school in grade 1. So we are getting them ready, especially in grade R, where they're doing their phonics, they're doing their basic mathematics operations, they're counting their shapes, but we do it in a way that it's play-based. So learning from play and enjoying it, the lessons, the concepts that they're learning. So I just think the main thing is forming those relationships and just giving them the tools to work through the challenges that they're going to be facing. Because we can't say they're not going to face any challenges. So giving them the tools to work through those challenges and, like we say, forming those relationships with their teacher. So not thinking that their teacher is this high and almighty person they can't approach. So we teach them that we can talk through our problems with our teacher to help us solve the issue so we can learn for the next one. So for the pre-primary, I say the most important is laying those foundations for the formal school in grade 1 in all areas of development, but making it play-based.
Okay, and does that, are you also playing a role in supporting the parents who are moving up through the pre-prep phases up into grade 1? Because I think it's not only an anxious time for the kids, but also possibly for parents, especially parents coming in as new parents.
Yeah, it is a very, very big step. I must say grade 1 is the most rewarding year for teachers, for children and for parents. You just see them flourish, get to June, July, and these children are reading, where at the beginning of the year they couldn't even sound out a word, they are reading fluently. So we do prepare parents where we say we've laid the foundations, we've taught them the phonics, but even the children that are coming in from nursery schools, from outside schools that are coming to join us in grade 1. We just advise parents, if they just prepare them also mentally and just emotionally, and say you in advance, say you are going to a big school now, you're going to be learning different things, new things, exciting things. You're going to be sitting at a desk formally, just to prepare them, because it is a big jump for them. And with parents, they mustn't worry about the marks and my child's not achieving this or not. Is your child happy? Is your child arriving at school every day, the smile on face, not fighting with you to go to school? And I say our best advert is that children that are crying, they don't want to go home, they don't want to leave school. So I think for parents, just to prepare their child mentally and emotionally in advance, and not just drop them off on the first day. And I say what's also important, spend time with them at night, reading them stories, and just spending that time with them and explaining how everything's going to happen, how everything's going to work.
And in that preparation, obviously it starts a bit further down in the pre-prep phase. Do we have extra support if needed for those children that require some extra support as they move up through the pre-prep phases?
So we do offer extra support, and once again I'm going to bring up the topic of having small classes. So they do get individualized attention in the classroom, but other than that, in grade 0 we also do support lessons starting from grade 0. So we do pick up the children who are struggling with a certain concept, where we'll meet with them weekly, maybe in the morning or in the afternoon, sit with them one-on-one and work on those strengths and weaknesses. And we also work on strengths where we extend the children in the class. And then we also have on site, we have occupational therapists, speech therapists, educational psychologists, where we can then go to them and do assessments with them, and they can also work with the children, and we work hand in hand with them as well and discuss, we're working on this concept, this is what you can do in class, and we help each other with that, and we work with the parents.
Cool. And I think that support continues right up until high school.
Absolutely.
I mean, we have children that attend occupational therapy to get themselves structured and help them with their organisation. So they might not necessarily need the cutting skills in grade 4, but it's a different skill that they're working on. And then I know even some of our grade 8s have outside support as well. So it's not just confined to the lower grades. And then also with the recommendation of an educational psychologist, we have concessions, which are very important to help those children who just need that little bit extra to achieve their potential, whether it be a reading or a writing or whatever. And what's nice is that it continues from our prep school into our high school, where the academic head there liaises with the IB. So it's also nice for the parents to know that their support is from the pre-prep right until matric.
And I think, as much as that professional support is important, it's not as though we leave it up to them. No. We make sure that once we've got a psychologist recommendation, we go, okay, this is how we're going to implement it in a class, and this is how we're going to support the child. And it goes back to what you were saying about that gossip in the staff room is not gossip. It's when I've got this troublesome child in my class who can't sit still, what do I do? And then Ruth will say, this is how I handle him, and this is the way we do things. And I think that just helps those children blossom. And I'm thinking about, 2 or 3 years ago when we had that matric group with 5 students who were on concession, and some of them, really need having quite severe learning barriers, and all of them managing to get through with a bachelor degree pass in a mainstream school with other kids who are supporting them and helping them. And I think we do well at that.
We do. So I'm just thinking of a boy who I think started here in prep school, who just couldn't focus and had a wriggly body. And so primary school was quite hard because you have to sit on a chair. And he came to the high school, and we will never forget his first performance at the Stetford, where he was doing a monologue, and we didn't think that the monologue called for him to jump over a sofa and roll on the floor, but that's what he did. And eventually he ended up being Puck the fairy, the naughty fairy in A Midsummer Night's Dream. He was absolutely brilliant. Got lovely A's in matric, which you wouldn't have expected if you'd seen him in grade 1.
Definitely.
And is now studying drama at Trinity College in Dublin. So that's how we grow a child. And I think that is a blessing that God gives children here, is that they're people who care about them from when they're 5 and wriggly to when they're ready to launch.
So let's also just talk about, while we're talking about children in the different phases of the school. So I know the highlights in the pre-prep phase up until the end of grade 0 is the fact that the kids get their lunch. And I think sometimes they think they're going out to a restaurant, to their dinner or their meal at pre-prep, which is all included in the fees. And I think also quite a highlight for the parents, not to have to worry about packing a lunchbox. But then I think we also have these milestones that we have at every single phase during the school, throughout the school. Maybe you want to talk about that specifically with the grade 8s and the PLP.
Yeah. So I think maybe it's a good idea to start at the beginning of the journey, so from into grade 1 and we move up from there. So maybe if Tanya, you start with the prep school milestone.
So the grade 1, for us, the grade 1 milestone is where they leave the prep school, pre-prep school, and join us in the formal prep. So they get their blazers. They formally big school, they get their blazers. We have a special assembly where they are put on them. And then in grade 4, when they move out of the foundation phase into the intermediate phase, they ring the bell in when they start chapel, because they've formally now come to our chapel services on a Friday. So they ring their bell so that they start in that phase. And then in grade 7, they ring out the bell to show that they're leaving the prep and they are handed over to Mr. Fenter in a assembly at their valediction. So then they enter into the high school.
Yeah, and then at the high school, at the beginning of the year, we have their induction service where they receive an uncut key, and there's a lot of special symbolism around why it's an uncut key, because of the opportunities that they're going to be presented with. Also in the Form 1 year, you're doing your Form 1 production, which is, a long-standing tradition of the school that almost all students will say that was one of my highlights. And it just forms that bond. And then I think for the rest of the school, it goes, okay, we've experienced this, and now you're a part of us because we've been through the same sort of experience. And then when they get into their matric year, at the end of the year, that those last couple of weeks are so special and so meaningful for these students, especially those who've started that journey 15 years ago. And that's what we experienced last year, being on the campus together for the first time, is they just wanted to spend their time up there and relive those days, those students who were here from the beginning. So we allow them the space to do that. And then on their last day, we'll have a special chapel service with them. They'll sign their names in a book. They'll then ring out the bell again. And I think the valediction service is what takes the cake. And, our last year out there in the Rose Garden was just such a special moment of celebration with the students, with the teachers who have been through this journey with them, and with those parents. And I think the milestones, it's about bringing your community together. It's about having students feel like they belong to something. And I think that's what's great about a school that has tradition. It's not that it's this old, stuffy, we do it because we've always done it sort of thing, but it's more to do with the fact of I belong to a family, and this is what our family does when we go through certain things. And I think that just helps our students feel like they belong.
I also think we also celebrate, so those are like big milestones that we celebrate, but at St. Martin's we all celebrate the small little milestones that the kids get so excited for. I mean, just to mention a couple, the grade 3s getting their pen license. It's such a small little milestone, but for them, it's a big thing, and they'll always remember that. And in assembly, when they get handed their certificate and their pen, and they all clap for each other and shout and scream. Also, another little milestone for the grade 1s where they get their first reader. They get so excited, and then when we read it in class together, and I say, you can read this by yourself, and they say, no, we can't. And we read it, and they said, oh, it's like that aha moment, like, I read that on my own. Even the bicycle days where they get their certificates for learning how to ride the bike without the training wheels. It's those little milestones that also just add to all those big steps in their lives as well.
And I don't know if I can say baptism is a milestone.
Yes.
We get young kids like Jaden the other day. He voluntarily said, I want to get baptized. I don't think his parents are practicing Christians. But he came out of his own and said, I need to belong to the body of Christ. And he came, went through the preparatory class, and he was baptized.
Lovely.
And other kids as well who come for admission for communion, they came on their own. It shows that we are a community that is loving, they belong, the tradition, and all of that.
Confirmation classes also.
And the confirmation class, yes.
Nothing says we belong like Shine Jesus Shine. The Lord of the Dance or in chapels.
Yeah, they are beautiful.
Yeah, I think we find ourselves in a very exciting phase of the life of the school. You know, being on one campus, we are at a moment where we are poised for growth, and you know, it's a very exciting time to be a part of. We are excited to open the quadruple naught class next year, which I think is really great for younger families. And yeah, looking at the high school, you know, we want to keep things small. We want to have that intimate feel, but there is certainly room for a bit of growth. And so at this point in time, having a couple of spaces in a couple of classes is great. And being able to, you know, look at our grade 2 class, which is just at capacity, and are we going to open it up into a second grade 3 class so that we've got the space for growth, so that more people can be a part of this family and experience what it is to experience. And I think, Raquel, you said it earlier, that idea of you only know what St. Martin's is about when you're on this campus. You've got to be here and get the feel. We had that visitor in grade 3 today where the mom at the beginning of the day said to us, can I come fetch my child early? He's very anxious to be here. So we said, what time? So she said, what time's break? We said, well, 9:30, that's a little bit early, maybe 12 o'clock lunchtime. Say to the little boy, do you think that'll be fine? Yeah, it'll be okay. And by the end of first break, the grade 3 teacher, Mrs. Scallon, was coming to us to say, please phone mom because this little boy wants to stay the whole day. He wants to be here. And we've experienced that a lot when students and families come onto this campus and feel all of these things that we talk about.
Yeah, it's a feeling, can't advertise it. You need to experience it. That's why those visitors' days, I think, are very important. If they can come spend the day with us. And they do just, we also had his sister in grade 1, and she just had an amazing day today, and she's already made so many friends, and they're very excited.
I think what's special about us is that you can't put us what we are on a poster. Yes, exactly. Karen Joubert, our educational psychologist, said she just wishes she could put St. Martin's in a bottle and sell it, but you can't because you need to experience it. But even talking about the grade 7s have got wind of the grade 8 PLP.
Oh, yes,
Obviously, they saw the pictures on Facebook about the opening ceremony or whatever, and they were like, what are we going to do next? I'm like, well, I don't know. I'm not part of that. And they were like, but did you see what they were doing? And they're doing all this wonderful stuff, and it's got them excited that, okay, hold on, I'm going to be part of this next year. So I think that's also makes it special, is that the kids don't want to leave. They want to do what the grade before them is doing, which is always nice.
It's like I say, we always have crying kids that don't want to go home.
My son's one of them, yeah.
That's what's nice about the chapel services as well, though, is that we've now got grade 4, do they?
Yes.
Yeah. Grade 4 to matric in the chapel. And last week, before our youth festival, was just fantastic. The matrics decided to wake up and sing. And they had that place buzzing and lifting the roof. And that's also nice, because I know the little kids turn around because the mana at the back are singing, you know. It's lovely.
And I think it's part of what we do as the pastoral team, especially during this month of June, to celebrate youth. Our learners are young people, they are youth. And our chapel services throughout the month of June are led by kids, by learners, so that they become more involved in chapel service, they become more involved in what we do in chapel by leading the service as lay ministers, as servers, as sacristans, and it's beautiful. Last week was just beautiful, and the matrics are taking it on tomorrow, and the teachers will also be involved to lead the service so that they can learn, they can know that there's progression in life and all of that.
I know, like the grade ones, I told them today, they're very excited about the chapel service tomorrow. So it's so nice from the grade ones to...
And we're fortunate enough to be able to experience that. And it is special because we are a family and those are important things that we need to be part of.
Yeah, so I think in the high school we've got a couple of I want to use the term flagship programs that are unique to us and that really give our students some fun but meaningful experiences. And the Form 1 PLP Personalised Learning Program is one of those things where each year we take on a different theme and give the students a different challenge. And it's an opportunity rather than sitting writing exams or sitting in the four walls of a classroom and learning in that way. It's providing them learning in a completely different way. So this year, and we're in day 2 of it, the students are doing a survivor challenge. And yesterday morning it was quite lovely to be down here by the amphitheatre, and the teachers involved had set fires, and there was a djembe drum going, and they were called into their first tribal council, and it's fun, right? It's really fun and exciting, but they're learning things. Already there's conflict within the group, and how do we deal with conflict when this person is really irritating me? Because that's what life is about, and just learning all sorts of different experiences. They're going to do a camp out here on the field overnight and learn how to make a fire. So absolute survival skills, but then taking it into how other people actually have to survive. We live in a country where there's homeless people, where, living out under the sky is a daily thing, where they're living on the breadline. And how do you do that? So here's 20 whatever rand, go to the shop and you've got to feed yourself for the day. Can you actually do that rather than coming and buying a fabulous 40 rand milkshake at the coffee shop? And it teaches all sorts of skills in that. So that the PLP is such a special program that the Form 1s love doing year on year and provides an opportunity. And then we've also got the Free Friday program every 2 weeks, which I think is really, really nice in that we don't have a timetable every second Friday. And it gives us the opportunity again to allow students to experience learning outside the confines of their classroom. So, we have the opportunity to pick up the whole school and go and watch a theatre production, and it's teaching them about our society, it's teaching them about social justice, it's teaching them about empathy. It's fun, but they're learning things. And a couple of weeks ago, we went to Soweto and we had a chapel service in a chapel in Orlando West. And that for me was so special and profound that not many schools get to be able to do that. And then students walked the streets of Soweto, went and had a look at the Hector Peterson Memorial, had a look at Nelson Mandela's house, and had the opportunity to meet with Antoinette Sithole, who is Hector Peterson's sister, and so providing those opportunities to our students every 2 weeks just opens up so much more of what they are able to learn and do and experience about life. And so we're very proud of those programs.
And I think also, just harking back to the Soweto visit, we've always made it quite a passionate thing in the school to be aware of where we come from. And the school, in its previous existence as St. Peter's, nurtured some of the most famous, fabulous, and meaningful South Africans that we've ever had. I mean, the fact that Desmond Tutu used to come every year for his away time and walk around our school fields at the high school and pray. Those kind of things are embedded, and I think our school is soaked in prayer, and I think that's part of the atmosphere that we can't bottle. I think there's a book there, Hugh Masekela's biography. I mean, He was first given his trumpet, or he was given his first trumpet by Trevor Huddleston, who is, a renowned freedom fighter. So I think those little jewels of history carry on. I think they carry on.
And piggybacking on your, what did you call it, PLP, we do PBL in the senior primary phase. So we do it every 2 years. So we alternate with the junior primary for concert, although are we doing a high school concert next
She'll
year
talk
with you?
about this over wine.
So every second year when we don't have a concert, we do project-based learning, which we were quite fortunate about 7 years ago to be part of the pilot program from the IB. They asked us to be part of it. So what we do then is which is really nice, we pose a question, a problem question to the kiddies, and in groups they've got to solve it. They've got to show their steps. They've got to show how they formulate a solution, whether or not it works. We do hopefully get to the point where we can try it out. So that's also quite nice. The kids really enjoy that.
So what have some of the questions been, the problem questions?
So a few years ago, one of the questions was, now you put me on the spot and I can't remember it. Like, what happens if the sun disappears?
Sure. Okay.
So you pose a problem, and then every group has to try and figure out. So hopefully they do all different things to solve that problem. You put me on the spot, I can't remember.
There was one about going into space. How would they survive if they had to go into space or something like that?
Yeah, but you pose like a general question, and how they interpret that question is completely different. So you can have one group, if there was no sun or whatever, building a space station, and another group, I don't know, building a bunker. So they all interpret the question differently, which is, and then obviously the extension into grade 8 with that. So I
also remember watching one group, they actually came up, then they were building an app that helped parents with shopping, that they could on this app go to all the different shops. So it wasn't just a Pick and Pay or Checkers, so it was all the shops. And I thought that was quite nice. But I think we've got something like that now. So they were actually on the
Ahead of the time.
yeah. So that's also quite nice. Something we're looking forward to. We're going to do one this year.
And I think when we talk about the PLP, that's a space that we give kids to talk about serious stuff. Mm-hmm. So remember that year when we said, any problem in society that you want to deal with, let's look at it in groups. And so one of these little teams in grade 8 chose gender-based violence. Yeah. And we were all thinking, oh my word, can we deal? These are young people, They did the most amazing thing. They interviewed somebody who was a victim of gender-based violence. They read a play about gender-based violence. They designed these huge boards with women's figures on, and where they sort of painted them in blood. Yes, yeah. It was profoundly disturbing, but they were allowed to explore that with somebody who nurtured them through it. Sure. And we also talked them down afterwards. And then there was another group that year who dealt with global warming. And they'd come up with amazing solutions.
They built that model house.
Yes, it was fantastic.
Yeah, so as much as we like to keep things small and intimate, at the end of the day, we've got space, and it is limited in a number of grades. We don't want to have 60 to 80 grade 8s walking around this campus. We want to keep it small to 40 to 50 students at a maximum, so that we keep that nurturing environment. And I know that some of our key areas are in our early pre-prep phase of triple noughts and even quadruple nought now into grade 1, the start of grade 4 and grade 8. Those are good intake years, and we're happy to bring students in at other grades, but it is limited. We don't want to be these big schools with lots and lots of kids across the campus, because then we're going to lose the essence of who we are. So those parents who do want to be a part of this community and the students who want to be a part of this community, sign up, because, you might miss out. There's not going to be space for everyone, unfortunately, eventually. And so now's the time when we're at this exciting phase.
And I think they also must take that opportunity to also follow us on Facebook and social media platforms where we advertise the visitors' days, because that will also give them a very good idea and definitely make their minds up about joining us. And they can come in any grade to visit us for the day.
I also think if you're a parent with a child who's an outlier, and outliers are not outsiders, they're kids who have special gifts. If you've got a kid who's an outlier and they don't fit into the mold exactly, this is the place, because outliers are given an opportunity to be free and be themselves and be polished into little diamonds, really. And we've done that with so many kids, because it's small, because it's intimate, because there's care. Outliers are allowed to swim against the stream.
Sure. And to add on that, in as much as we are an Anglican school, a Christian school, we are open to different faiths. Our pastoral support is not exclusive to Christians. It cuts across all faiths and religions. So, yeah.
And it's important that it's actually important for us as Christians to be accepting and nurturing of other faiths. It's part of what acceptance and growing together and teamwork is all about. So, we've had, I'm busy doing Slumdog Millionaire with the grade 10s, Form 3s. And so Indian kids in the class have had a chance to talk about the Hindu faith, and this is what it's like, and that's why that temple is important. Or remember when we did material, and then the Muslim kids could tell us about prayers and what was going on there. So I think we're like a community of difference, but the difference is celebrated,
Absolutely.
And accepted.
and accepted, and loved.
Yeah. And I
think that was awesome.
So I'm sure, as you can tell, we're very passionate about what we do here, and we can talk about it for hours and hours and hours. And as we've said, the best way to experience the true essence of who we are here at St. Martin's School is to come through and visit. So I'd like to encourage anyone who's interested to look on our website, look on our social media, fill out an inquiry form, come and spend a day here and be a part of this awesome community in 2025 and beyond.